You know how it is, you want to understand something complex, really get it, but you're short on time? Maybe overwhelmed by all the info out there?
Yeah, you're looking for the key stuff, what really matters.
Exactly, and that's what we do here. This is the deep dive, kind of a shortcut to being well-informed.
Right. And in this deep dive, we're on a pretty fascinating journey, I think. We're connecting two seemingly different worlds.
Okay?
On one hand, the Ramakrishna Mission Vivekananda Educational and Research Institute, let's call it RKMVERI, it's easy.
RKMVER.
And on the other, the ancient wisdom of the Ashtavakra Gita. Our mission really is to explore how they both approach knowledge and self-realization.
Interesting pairing. And we've got some solid sources to work with.
Oh yeah, a rich set. We have detailed info on RKMBRI, this modern university, and then quite a mix of views on the Ashtavakra Gita, academic stuff, personal reflections, encyclopedia summaries, that sort of thing.
Great. Okay, let's dive into RKMVRI first. It definitely sounds like an institution with a strong sense of purpose.
Absolutely. I mean, the name itself tells a story, right? Founded in the spirit of Swami Vivekananda.
Mm-hmm.
RKMVERI is explicitly trying to bridge ancient Indian wisdom, the spiritual, philosophical depth, with modern science, technology, even philosophy and maths.
So integration is key.
It's totally woven into their fabric.
Mm.
And what's really striking is their chosen thrust areas. It shows this deliberate effort to tackle real-world needs, disability management, rural development, but also that inner quest through Indian heritage and fundamental science.
That suggests a very holistic view, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Kind of mirrors some of those ancient philosophical questions.
Exactly. A holistic approach.
So these thrust areas, can you break those down for us? What are they focusing on?
Sure. They list 5 main ones. First is disability management and special education, and that includes general and adapted physical education and yoga.
Yep.
Second, agriculture and integrated rural and tribal development. Very practical. Yeah. Third area is Indian heritage, spiritual, cultural, scientific, sports heritage, you name it. And a big emphasis on values education, character building.
Values. Important.
Fourth is fundamental and applied science education and research. And they stress translational research here.
Translational research, we should probably circle back to what that means exactly.
Definitely. And the fifth area is environment and disaster management. So yeah, it's a really diverse portfolio, a very comprehensive vision, I'd say.
It really is ambitious. And it sounds like this work is actually getting noticed. Significant recognition.
It is. They hold a UNESCO chair in inclusive adapted physical education and yoga. And that just got extended for another 4 years.
Wow, international level impact then.
For sure. Plus, they're full members of GMI, that's the Global University Network for Innovation, which kind of signals their commitment to social responsibility in higher ed.
And academically, how do they stack up?
Oh, very high level. RKMVARI scored the highest possible NAASE grade, that's A++E.
A+.
Yeah, with a CGPA of 3.66 out of 4. Just to give you some context, that puts them right up there, incredibly close to the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore.
Which is, a top institution.
Exactly. So this revised accreditation really underlines their academic excellence.
Consistently performing like that really says something.
So yeah.
And they're not just, staying within the campus walls. They're engaging with current issues.
Yes, definitely. They organize loads of national seminars, webinars, recent topics, things like recent trends, research in sports science and yoga, scientific approach to sports performance, new horizons in sports sciences.
Okay, sports science seems big for them.
It is, but also very practical stuff like addressing barriers in the environment and universal design. They did that with an IEPMD, Chennai. And even big policy discussions, like one on Swami Vivekananda's educational vision vis-a-vis National Educational Policy 2020. The Minister of Education was the keynote for that one.
Impressive. So a blend of theory and practice.
That's the feel I get. Deep thinking, decisive action. And they're not standing still either. They're expanding.
How so?
Well, starting just recently, 2022-2023, they've launched new postgraduate and research programs. Things like critical care science, immunology, digital biology, and bioinformatics, digital image analysis. Really forward-looking fields.
Keeping pace with change, clearly.
Yeah.
This whole idea of integrating tradition and modernity, it seems like it's baked into their structure, too. with these different schools.
Precisely. They have dedicated schools for Indian heritage, mathematical sciences, rehabilitation and sport sciences, environment and disaster management, agriculture and rural development, and biological sciences. That structure really embodies the mission, bringing together all these different streams.
And within Indian heritage, you mentioned some specialized centers.
Yes, two new ones. One is Vivekavyasa, that stands for Vivekananda Vedanta Yoga Adhyana Samshatana.
Quite a mouthful.
It is. But it shows that deep focus on study and research in Vedanta and yoga. The other one, the sources didn't give it a specific name yet, focuses on Sanskrit and Indic studies. They even have a weekly Sanskrit colloquium called Manasalasa.
What's that involve?
It's a space for training in things like extempore speech, poetry composition, presenting research, all in Sanskrit. It's a really vibrant way to keep those ancient traditions alive and kicking.
Fantastic initiative.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned translational research earlier in the science context. Can you unpack that a bit more?
Right. So the emphasis there is about taking the core discoveries from science and engineering, the fundamental stuff, and translating it into, well, tangible applications, solutions that directly benefit society.
Making lab breakthroughs useful in the real world.
Pretty much. It's about impact.
It all sounds incredibly organized. Are they using modern tools to manage all this?
They are. They developed their own enterprise resource planning system, an ERP.
KRP for management.
Exactly. For effective governance. It helps them handle all that data admissions, fees, online classes, assessment certificates, minimizes errors, makes info accessible.
And for the teachers and students?
It simplifies things. Sharing lesson plans, accessing student data for, more personalized learning. It supports a more tailored education, really.
Using tech to enable a more human focus. Clever.
Yeah.
Okay, and they also have something called a Krishi Vijayan Kendra, a KVK. What role does that play?
Ah, the KVK. That's basically a vital link between the university's agricultural research and the actual farming community.
Okay, boots on the ground.
Yeah. Its job includes vocational training in agriculture, testing new farming tech right there on farms, demonstrating new crops and methods.
Frontline demos.
Exactly. And also training agricultural extension officials. The main goal is getting the latest knowledge out effectively to lots of farmers, driving progress.
So real commitment to impact beyond the campus. And it looks like they're actively bringing in funding for research, too.
Oh, definitely. They've secured numerous projects, funded by central and state government agencies, international bodies, too.
Yeah, I'll give you an example.
Sure. Dr. Shami Gupta got over 40 lakh rupees from SERB DST for a 3-year project on quantum materials, started late 2020. And Dr. Amitava Bhattacharya, similar funding source, over 32 lakh for a 3-year project starting early 2021. Plus, they have dedicated projects on integrated agriculture, rural and tribal development at their Ranchi off-campus center. So, yeah, research across the board.
It really paints a picture of a dynamic, modern place with deep roots. And those roots, are they sort of represented visually, like in their emblem?
They are, yeah. The RKM VEII emblem is quite symbolic. It shows a swan, a hamsa in water, lotus flower underneath, rays of light going up.
Sounds evocative.
It is. And above the name Ramakrishna Mission, there's an inscription in Sanskrit. May that swan inspire us. In Indian tradition, the swan symbolizes purity, discernment, the quest for ultimate knowledge. The lotus means spiritual awakening. The light is knowledge, dispelling ignorance.
A powerful visual summary.
Totally. And importantly, the emblem notes they're officially a deemed university under the UGC Act, located in Belur Math, West Bengal.
Okay, so we have a really strong sense of RKMVERI now. Modern, integrating ancient wisdom, very active. Let's pivot completely now. Let's delve into this ancient text, the Ashtavakra Gita. What's its significance?
Right. The Ashtavakra Gita, it's a deeply revered scripture in Indian philosophy, Indian spirituality. Its core focus, self-realization, inner freedom.
Like the Bhagavad Gita.
Often compared to it, yes. But the Ashtavakra Gita is known for being much more direct. Some even say radical in its approach to reality.
Radical how?
Well, it's closely tied to Advaita Vedanta.
Advaita Vedanta non-duality, right?
Yeah, exactly. The fundamental idea that ultimately everything is one, there's no real separation. The individual self, the Atman, is identical to the ultimate reality, Brahman.
That idea of oneness.
That's the core. And it really challenges our everyday perception of being separate individuals. It suggests maybe our conflicts, our anxieties stem from that illusion of separation.
And it's presented as a dialogue.
Yes, it unfolds as this conversation between a sage, Ashtavakra, and a king, Janaka.
Ashtavakra. Didn't he have physical deformities?
He did. His name literally means 8 bends. But despite that, immense wisdom. And King Janaka was known as this enlightened ruler, searching for deeper knowledge about the self, about liberation.
So the Gita is basically their chat.
Essentially, yeah. It documents Ashtavakra guiding Janaka towards realizing his true nature.
And the heart of it all is that non-duality. Hatman is Brahman.
Precisely. That's the central teaching. No real lasting separation between you, the individual, and the divine source of everything.
It's amazing how these ancient texts still speak to people. We looked at a Reddit discussion, what kind of things came up there.
Yeah, that was interesting. A recurring idea was that, real insights into Hinduism often come from people who stress exploring the true self, maybe more than just ritual worship.
Okay.
The discussion mentioned various figures, Paramahansas, Pramananji, Osho, Acharya Prashant, even Adi Shankara, people seen as emphasizing that inward journey.
So less focus on external rites, more on internal search.
That was the feeling. One comment pointed out that many ancient Indian philosophers weren't heavily into deity worship, but focused on finding the authentic self. Even Shankara, they suggested, didn't see temples or mantras as essential for realizing the ultimate truth, which fits right in with the Ashtavakra Gita's direct internal focus.
A shift from outside to inside. And there was something about the meaning of life, too. Or maybe getting beyond needing a meaning.
Yes, exactly. A really insightful point was that life finds its deepest significance when we stop trying to force some meaning onto it.
Instead of striving.
Instead of constantly trying to become something else, it's more about just being present in the fullness of what you already are. The core message is you don't need fixing. You don't need to justify yourself.
Rest in what you are.
That's the essence, echoing the Gita. You're already complete. Life, in this view, isn't some mission. It's more like a mirror, just reflecting the unchanging stillness within us.
That's a powerful metaphor. The mirror.
It is. Every experience, every emotion, just reflections of that fundamental stillness, which is our real nature. It's easy to get caught up trying to change the reflection, isn't it? Instead of seeing the stillness.
Definitely. Letting go of that constant striving.
Yeah.
And the Reddit user mentioned it's not about escapism.
Right. Important point. The Gita isn't saying withdraw from the world. It's more like engage fully, authentically, but without that nagging need to fix yourself, improve yourself, validate yourself, live from that place of inherent wholeness.
Okay. Now, shifting gears slightly, what about a more formal source like Wikipedia? How does it frame the text?
Wikipedia classifies it as a philosophical dialogue, teaching didactic lessons, much like the Bhagavad Gita, as we said.
Yeah.
It also gives the alternate name, Ashtavakra Samhita. Same text.
Yeah.
And confirms, it's a major Hindu scripture, strongly linked to Advaita Vedanta.
And does it mention Ashtavakra's background?
It does, briefly, mentions the physical deformities traditionally linked to a curse from his father, but emphasizes his sharp intellect, his deep wisdom despite the challenges, and again, highlights the dialogue with King Janaka as the key way the teachings are conveyed. The meditation affinity source said that too.
So the dialogue format is really central. Now, we also had insights from the role of the Ashtavakra Gita in Indian spiritual consciousness. What was the unique take there?
That source really highlighted how the Gita offers, the special precepts that actually negate the need for many traditional paths.
Negate the need, like what?
Like following rules, performing actions, worship, prayer, meditation, karma, bhakti, hymns, even hatha yoga. This source suggests the Gita sees these as potentially binding, not liberating. Forms of religious devotion that might not be essential.
Wow, that is radical. Saying the usual practices could be obstacles.
Yes, the interpretation presented,
Yeah.
It suggests that simple self-belief is enough for what those other means can't achieve. It uses this interesting analogy.
Okay.
Darkness does not exist. It is only a distortion of the manifest non-present. Trying to actively remove darkness, it argues, just creates more darkness.
So instead,
darkness just vanishes when you recognize the underlying reality. It's about a shift in perception, not specific actions.
a fundamental shift. What else did that source emphasize?
It talked about the mind, a mind freed from worldly confusion and attachment. Serene, blissful, rooted in the self that's seen as truly special. And it suggests things like life, death, relationships, even thoughts. They all dissolve into the soul, ultimately. And maybe the boldest claim. This source asserts that Maharishi Ashtavakra's knowledge goes beyond even the Upanishads, positions his teaching as uniquely elevated.
Beyond the Upanishads. That's saying something. A very direct, potent path, then.
It certainly suggests that.
Okay, fascinating. So we've got RKMVER, this modern institution blending ancient and new knowledge, and the Ashtavakra Gita, this ancient text, proposing a direct, maybe practice-free path to self-realization. How do these two connect? Or do they?
That is the big question, isn't it? And there are some interesting points where they seem to, well, resonate. RKMVRI's whole mission, harmonizing ancient wisdom with modern science and tech,
Right?
that clearly echoes Advaita's core idea, trying to understand the deeper reality behind everyday experience. Both are looking underneath the surface in their own ways.
And RKMVRI's focus on values education, how does that fit with the Gita?
Well, that commitment to values education for wholesome, integrated character building, it aligns fundamentally with the Gita's goal of inner peace and self-realization.
How so?
The Gita focuses on the inner state as the foundation. RKMVRI tries to cultivate those values through education, potentially leading to a similar kind of inner harmony, a deeper understanding. Different methods may be aiming for a related outcome.
What about the practical stuff at RKMVRI, like that ERP system you mentioned?
Yeah.
Any parallel there? Seems a bit of a stretch, maybe?
It might seem indirect, yeah. But think about it. The ERP streamlines things, frees up time and mental energy for teachers and students.
Okay.
That efficiency could allow more focus on deeper learning, maybe even create space for inner reflection. You could see it as a modern, secular way of clearing away distractions, which kind of echoes the Gita's call to look beyond the superficial, focus on the essential self.
Clearing external clutter to foster internal clarity. Interesting take. And the sheer range of subjects at RKMVRI, Indian heritage, biological sciences, could these different fields offer paths to understanding that interconnectedness Advaita talks about?
Absolutely, I think so. Studying ecology gives you a scientific lens on interdependence in nature, right? That could resonate with the philosophical concept of unity in the Gita. The different disciplines might offer various intellectual doorways to grasp that interconnectedness.
But there's a big contrast in approach, too, isn't there? RKMVERI is structured, external knowledge. The Gita seems so direct, almost bypassing structure.
That's a crucial distinction, yes. Structured learning versus this apparently practice-free direct path. It raises the question, are these totally different routes? Or could they be complementary?
Complementary how?
Maybe the knowledge and values from an institution like RKMVRI prepare the ground for the kind of radical self-inquiry the Gita encourages. Or maybe the Gita offers a perspective that ultimately goes beyond the need for external structures anyway. It's something to ponder.
And RKMVRI's focus on translational research, applying knowledge to real problems. How does that sit with the Gita's message?
That connection's a bit more nuanced. Translational research is definitely engagement with the phenomenal world, trying to fix problems within it.
Where is the Gita?
The Gita largely emphasizes transcending the phenomenal world to realize the ultimate reality. So whether applying knowledge aligns with self-realization, it's debatable.
Right.
You could argue a truly self-realized person would naturally act beneficially, making research a manifestation of wisdom. But the Gita itself doesn't really focus on that outward application.
So different paths, maybe some shared resonances underneath, but very different methods.
Precisely. RKMVERI offers this multifaceted, structured way, blending ancient and modern across many fields. The Ashtavakra Gita presents a starkly direct path transcendence, recognizing the already complete self.
It's really fascinating setting them side by side.
Yeah.
Okay, as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the main takeaways? What should we hold on to from exploring RKMVRI and the Ashtavakra Gita?
Well, we've seen RKMVRI as this dynamic, modern effort to synthesize ancient Indian wisdom with contemporary thought, covering everything from disability support to heritage preservation to cutting-edge science. It's committed to both academic excellence and social impact.
A very engaged approach.
Definitely. Then the Ashtavakra Gita offers this timeless, incredibly direct message, self-realization through immediate recognition of your true nature, often bypassing conventional practices. So RKMVERI provides a framework for knowledge and values within the world.
While the Gita points inward.
Exactly. Points towards an inner understanding that maybe transcends the limits of that world.
So, to leave everyone listening with something to think about, here's a final thought for you. In our own lives today, how do we balance that outward pursuit? Seeking external knowledge, engaging with the world like RKMVRI does, with that equally profound inner quest for self-understanding, the kind illuminated by wisdom like the Ashtavakra Gita. Finding that balance, well, it's a question worth pondering on your own journey, don't you think?